Histories presents information based in part on facts and knowledge. The producer's purpose is to suggest the only possible explanations, but not necessarily the correct ones, to the mysteries we will examine. Welcome to Hidden Histories. The year was 1962. The Beatles released their first single, Love Me Do. Andy Warhol painted the can of soup. John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth, looked to the sky and wished on the moon. Cuban Missile Crisis, whole planet almost go boom. And epics dominated the movie theaters. Spartacus, Lawrence of Arabia, and El Cid. Oh, the crowds they drew. A giant purple casket is suspended above a gaping maw in the earth. A small group of people are braving the blistering 1962 Los Angeles summer heat of 72 degrees to pay their respects to an old friend. Before them, a clown, dressed in a strange patchwork outfit, solemnly stands at the podium.
Hey! I love hamburgers! You know that! I love Grimace, too! I loved him almost as much as he loved Blobs! I'm so sad today!
The crowd, populated by the survivors of the Hamburger Day Massacre, were all weeping as Ron Wayne McDonald delivered his eulogy. His partner, Benjamin Grimace, was about to be laid to rest amongst the stars at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, an honor he had gained by helping McDonald build one of the earliest and most successful restaurants in the great state of California.
Without Ben, I could not have made McDonald's what it is today. I'm so happy you're all here. I'm loving it. We have had our differences. But today, with the loss of our friends and family, we are united against the demonic Leonard Burger King, or whoever the fuck did this.
10 years prior, in 1952, Ron Wayne McDonald was teetering on the edge of mental and financial ruin. He had established his burger restaurant, McDonald's, in 1950 in San Bernardino, California, and had only sold 51 hamburgers in those 2 years. Not that it was entirely his fault. His burgers were quite tasty, but he was a victim of a massive disinformation campaign launched by then king of the burger restaurants, Leonard Burger King. After being open only 3 weeks, Burger King had taken out a full-page advertisement in the Bernardino Times describing McDonald as only pantomiming a clown, claiming he wasn't actually a clown, and made an explicit point that McDonald's burgers were not that tasty. It was just then that an old figure from McDonald's past suddenly re-emerged in his life. As he swept away the imagined refuse of the unused tables and emptied the unused oil from his fryers at the end of a 16-hour day, the front entry shopkeeper's bell rang and he had his first customer of the month. Standing in the lobby of the only McDonald's restaurant in existence was his secondary school arch nemesis, Benjamin Grimace, or Grimace for short. Grimace had with him a basket of freshly cooked French fries, several burgers, and a purple suitcase. In his 2002 autobiography, Where's the Beef? My Life as the Clown Prince of Hamburgers and the esteemed actor John Travolta, McDonald wrote,
There stood the tormentor of my youth. His stringy hair that I had always envied. His gorgeous bathrobe that so contrasted my patchwork clothing. And worst of all, the crown he wore, which I had always despised. But now with my entire existence on the brink of being extinguished by Leonard Burger King, who also wore a crown, I felt as deflated as an abandoned animal balloon.
As if extending an olive branch, Grimace held out a single French fry to McDonald. This fry would change McDonald's life and the history of fast food forever. Ron Wayne McDonald was born on August 1st, 1928, to Mary and Michael Big Mac McDonald, slaughterhouse employees in Myrtle, Mississippi. Ron was a surprise as he wasn't planned. He was also a surprise in that he was born a clown, a rare occurrence as neither Mary nor Mike were clowns, but both had a recessive clown gene. Mike and Mary did their best to raise Ron, but being unfamiliar with clown customs often made unintentional faux pas, such as dressing Ron in patchy, flamboyant clothing and rags, making him the laughingstock of clown preschool. It was a role Ron would grow accustomed to. Ron's only escape from reality was his nightly hamburger. 1/4 pound in weight, but once cooked, significantly less, afforded only by his parents' connections at the local H.R. Pennybacker slaughterhouse. In 1940, the McDonald family moved west to San Bernardino, California. The city had one of the best clown schools in the country. When Ron entered secondary school on his first day, the first clown he encountered was Benjamin Grimace. Grimace held out his hand and mercilessly buzzed Ron with a handshake buzzer to intimidate his rather unclownly new classmate. Ron immediately wet himself. Thus began a cycle of cruel clown jokes at the hands of the glamorous Grimace that would last throughout clown school. The echoes of his schoolmates' laughter would haunt Ron throughout his life. As McDonald stared at Grimace's outstretched hand, holding one golden fry, he began to shake and had a sudden urge to urinate.
Go ahead, take it. It won't hurt you. It will make you feel good.
Hesitantly, McDonald took the fry from Grimace, expecting a shocking jolt. But there was no prank. Still, somewhat cautiously, Ron put the French fry to his lips and took a bite. And then something happened. After just a few seconds, McDonald's depression vanished, and in fact, he felt better than he had ever felt before.
Hey! That's fucking great!
Benjamin Grimace was born on New Year's Day, 1929. He was born to two prominent clown parents, Ginky and Gluppo Grimace, and was raised in the finest clown community of Tallahassee, Florida, until the age of 10 when the family moved to San Bernardino, California. There, Ben could learn to ride a unicycle and drive a tiny car from the world's most learned masters at the finest clown school in the great United States of America. He quickly became the coolest clown in school, with his beautiful locks and fanciful bathrobe. In May 1940, Grimace and his classmates attended a matinee showing of Alfred Hitchcock's The Blob. It would be the first time in Ben's young life that he felt sexual arousal. It was not an actress in the film, nor an actor, nor a classmate, nor an employee of the theater that stirred these foreign feelings in the young clown's loins. Rather, it was the blob itself that Grimace found himself so intensely drawn to. In drastic contrast to his outward popularity and carefree clown life, Grimace found himself incredibly lonely and depressed after he discovered his attraction to blobs. He maintained an outward veneer of confidence and positivity for his peers and family, but his soul was tortured. He felt he must be the only one of his kind. As his rage and self-hatred grew, he found in Ron Wayne McDonald, the newest, most unclownly clown in school, a perfect scape clown. Grimace held out another fry, and Ron snatched it from his hand with the speed of an eagle, swooping down on a rodent, fish, or other small animal, sometimes even a human child. Ron began cleaning the restaurant faster than he ever had, like a maniac. He hadn't even addressed Grimace yet.
My mind was racing, and my heart was beating 100 miles an hour. Hey, I felt great. Hey, Ron, slow down. You deserve a break today. Here, try this burger. I whipped the burger out of his hand, and I devoured it. I was suddenly incredibly relaxed. I felt like Jell-O. I slid into a booth, and it was then that Grimace told me why he had come to my failing restaurant.
Grimace explained to the sedate McDonald that he had come to the store to make a peace offering. He needed McDonald's help. Grimace apologized for the abuse he had put McDonald through in his youth. As the incapacitated McDonald's eyes rolled back in his head, Grimace stumbled and stammered for 20 minutes and finally came to his point. He opened his purple suitcase and pulled out a large, amorphous purple outfit.
I'm a blobby. This is who I am. I'm afraid and I'm alone. I need a friend.
Grimace then explained to the nearly unconscious but incredibly aware Ron that the French fry was dusted with cocaine, and the burger was injected with the popular pharmaceutical sedative benzodiazepine, and further explained to him that this was a standard industry practice.
We're gonna make this restaurant a success, Ron. We will serve billions of people, and they will love it.
With the benzo-infused burgers in the new children's Happy Meal and the large fries coated in cocaine, the parents were peppy, the kids were calm, and business took off. 51 burgers sold quickly became thousands, drawing attention around the San Bernardino Valley and drawing the ire of Leonard Burger King. A desperate Burger King took out another full-page ad in the San Bernardino Gazette that depicted the letter M of McDonald's as an illustration of two questionable veiny limp French fries. Throughout the text of the advertisement, Burger King mentioned McDonald's greasy limp fries and purposefully misnamed McDonald, calling him Limp Rich McDonald, and alluded to Grimace's alternative lifestyle. Unfazed, McDonald actually loved the design. He would use a slightly modified version to create a new logo, the Golden Arches. The day-to-day found both McDonald and Grimace in the kitchen, and it was a clown's delight. The two would play well-meaning pranks on each other. Also, hopped up on the occasional French fry, they really cranked up their marketing and publicity. McDonald provided emotional support for Grimace and consistently encouraged his friend to be himself, as Grimace supported McDonald's love of hamburgers. The burger wars raged for years, with new competition entering the battlefield, such as the vile Jared and his underground Subway restaurant that promised only the freshest meat, Turkish entrepreneur and burger master In-N-Out, as well as 3 chain steakhouses started by George Sisler, real estate mogul Wilbur Smith, and the Australian Yahoo Serious' Outback Steakhouse. With the competition growing more intense, the pressure to use more drugs in the meals also increased, reducing profit and driving up prices. When Happy Meals reached their peak price of $3.25 and a large fry hit the price of $6, the modern monetary equivalent of $29 and $56 respectively, the USDA suddenly became interested. They started a massive crackdown on all the restaurants in the valley. In the midst of this turmoil, Wilbur Smith of Wilbur Smith's Berkeley Barbecue and Grill House approached McDonald with an offer to purchase McDonald's and the idea of franchising the restaurant. McDonald politely refused the generous offer, telling Smith that he had finally found his purpose in life and he would not sell it for any amount of money. The following day, Grimace proposed to McDonald that the restaurateurs of the greater San Bernardino Valley have a summit to unite their numbers against their common enemy, the USDA. He also stated that he would use the opportunity to come out to his peers as a blobby. Grimace hired some old friends to deliver the invitations to all of the restaurateurs personally, and everyone was invited, except for the Wiener Schnitzels and John Holmes, proprietor of Hot Dog on a Stick, because the food they served was created from pig anuses. The summit was scheduled for May 28, 1962, a day that would live in infamy and eventually become the holiday National Hamburger Day. The group gathered at 8 p.m. at Pippa Hut's Italian restaurant. In attendance were the usual suspects: McDonald, Grimace, Thomas Goodwin Irwin Friday, Jersey Mike, Trent D'Arby, Red Lobster and his wife Olive Garden Lobster, George Sisler, Willard Smith, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Colonel Jeff Sanders, as well as Dairy Queen, a man known only as Denny, Faye L. Bechtel, Sergeant Holka Appleby, Charles Edward Chasey, Domino, The Papas, John, Murphy, Dan, Dean, Don, and Jimmy John, Pete, Wendy, John, Jack Box, quintuplets Joe, George, Jeff, Jason, and John Guy, and unfortunately, the vile Jared. Suspiciously absent was Leonard Burger King. McDonald set the scene on page 679 of his autobiography.
The smoke hung thick in the air. We were there to make a plan for war, and you could feel it in your clown bones. My clown skin tingled as Grimace stood in front of the artificial fire in the center of the restaurant. He donned a purple blob outfit for the first time publicly, and he looked even more beautiful than in his clown state. A murmur ran through the crowd. Most had never seen a clown dressed in a blob outfit. I was proud of my friend.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? We are being run out of business by the USDA. It is time we put our differences aside and come together in one amorphous blob of business guys who have what it takes to defeat our common enemy. They call our meat pink slime. We call them blue swine. They don't like our cocaine fries. We don't like their profane lies. If they say no more benzo burgers, we say this will end in murder.
"13 people were killed, including Grimace. Anonymous witnesses at the scene said that Jared survived the initial attack. However, after his body was recovered, the official autopsy report was that he had died of asphyxiation, and his McNuggets had been removed and were found in his mouth. At Grimace's funeral, McDonald continued his eulogy to his dearest friend.
For years, Ben made me urinate. I thought he hated me because I wasn't clowny enough. One thing that son of a bitch Leonard Burger King got right in his campaign against me: my parents weren't clowns. So what? I am a clown, but I am a man. I am what I am. I can't be anything else. And when Grimace came back to tell me who he was, he changed my life. He loved to see me smile.
McDonald paused, looked to the sky, tears rolling down his cheeks that would have washed away even the most expensive oil-based makeup of an ordinary imitation circus clown. His pale face intact, he looked back at the crowd and suddenly lashed out.
Fuck all of you!
Within weeks, most of the restaurants of the deceased went belly up. Leonard Burger King, who was conspicuously absent from the summit, swooped in, buying all of the vacated restaurants and turning them into Burger King franchises. There was suddenly a Burger King located every 3 blocks throughout the San Bernardino Valley. A distraught McDonald took out a 12-page advertisement inserted into the center of the Sunday paper. The advertisement was a rambling manifesto, over 20,000 words in length, describing Burger King's handshake as a dead fillet of fish, and spelling out a bizarre theory, tying Burger King to major historical events, such as the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and minor occurrences, like the 1968 Wimbledon Championship Series. The diatribe culminated in a charge that Burger King had been the mastermind behind the Hamburger Day massacre in order to get the attention of child actress Jodie Foster. Weeks later, local entertainer and businessman Roy Kroc approached a distraught and frantic McDonald who had taken to snorting an entire vat of fries worth of cocaine a day. Kroc, a man who had made his fortune selling pork belly futures and often dressed in a lifelike alligator suit for ceremonial photo ops, proposed a generous offer he had put together with several silent partners to buy McDonald's in hopes of turning it into the world's largest restaurant chain. McDonald, not anywhere near his right mind, signed the papers and left the restaurant with a suitcase full of money and wasn't seen again in public for 25 years. McDonald used his newfound millions to pay for the world's first successful black market face transplant surgery. Ron paid an incredible fee to have his clown face exchanged with the non-clown face of a traditionally handsome teenage orphan named Mars Fuckerberg. When his new face was healed and fully grafted, McDonald legally changed his name to John Travolta, a play on words meaning a toilet that flushes away your old life. While McDonald would go on to star in numerous films, be nominated for multiple Oscars, and become an ambassador for the benevolent science-based religion Scientology that teaches that the first woman was made from a single McRib, the teenage orphan would come to create a powerful social network called Facebook, a popular networking hub for people looking to swap faces or people in search of their old face. Simultaneously, Roy Kroc was making good on his promise and was licensing new McDonald's franchises across the United States and around the world. In 2003, inspired by the courage of his old friend Grimace, McDonald gave up the ruse and again came out as the clown, Ron Wayne McDonald. Once more, he swapped faces, ironically using Fuckerberg's Facebook to find a match. This time with a young clown named Bixby, who to this day continues to get work as John Travolta, even after the transplant surgery was horribly botched. On the Fox News special Body Works, plastic surgery disaster expert Glip Fishburne explained.
Yeah, turns out the face don't like to be transplanted so many times, you know? Like after one time, that stuff, like the skin and stuff, really starts to break down.
After McDonald's reemergence, Roy Kroc offered Ron his old position as Ronald McDonald, the clown mascot of the McDonald's franchise. As part of the agreement, McDonald insisted that his friend Grimace be represented in the McDonaldland gallery of characters, and thus the popular purple milkshake-loving blob was born. McDonald also insisted that the mayor of McDonaldland must be a talking cheeseburger. The clown would go on to outline a 43-page backstory for the 13 characters that made up the main McDonaldland players in his mind. Although he did not stipulate in the contract that this backstory would be expressed in any manner publicly. It never has been. To this day, Ron continues to perform in the role free of charge, due only to his love of hamburgers and his dear friend Grimace.